management tool. My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management specialist. I help professionals to become successful project managers. What does it mean in practice? Well, I help people, for example, they are feeling anxious or they do not know how to prepare they are feeling anxious for an interview. I help them to prepare them for an interview to gain confidence to get a project management position. I help people that they do not know how to prepare their CV, then I help them to work on their CV, getting important information there to make sure that they have higher chance to be invited for an interview. Or I help already people working with project management, but they are struggling in some cases. For example, if you have the feeling that you are working, you are putting a lot of work, but you don't get the results, you keep gaining pressure, and your project continues to delay. I help those people to organize their project, to understand how to better apply their effort to get better results for their project in practice. That can go for a lot of different items, from organizing a project, from understanding how to better prioritize activities, to create a plan in how to move forward to organize their days and so on. So there are several different ways, and of course, I also help people with training, with mentoring, and so on. That's just to a bit to make landing what I'm mentioning here. The topic I'm going to talk about today is project management tools, and this is a question that I received in the past week a lot on my Instagram Q&A box, and that's why I decided to talk about a bit more on this topic to discuss different types of tools that are there and what kind of value that you can get from them. And of course, before I forget, make sure that here you like it, like and share this video so it can reach more people and more people can learn about project management tools, the best use of them, and of course how to progress their project management careers. Because in the end, if your goal is to develop your project management skills, my goal is to support you in this journey. So let's talk about project management tools. First thing that you need to keep in mind, there are a lot of tools out there. I mean, from just mentioning few of tools that are used to track the activities. For example, you can do MS Project, you can do Primavera P6, you can use Jira, Asana, Monday, Trello. What do you understand by that? That's basically impossible for you to know all the tools. But in the end, that does not matter. Why? Because all those tools they have similarity. What you need to understand, in this case, specifically, of course, for a timeline I'm talking about, is how you are going to build your timeline, how you get the right overview, how you are going to get the right key performance indicators to make sure that you can track the progress of your project. And before someone tells me, yeah, but I'm doing Scrum, I don't have tracking. No, of course you need to have tracking even if you are doing Scrum. Because there's a lot of misconception that people think when you talk about self-organizing teams, that basically there's no pressure or there's no commitment. Of course there is. If you're using Scrum, you have a release date. And although the scope might change to the release date, can be adapted and should be adapted if you're using Scrum. That's the entire idea of using Scrum. You need to track it how it's going on there. You need to track it to reach the release. Or do you think Apple is they are going to release their new iOS? They have a Scrum team there, and here's an hypothetical situation. I do not know if they are using Scrum at Apple. And then suddenly they say, yeah, but we are using Scrum teams, things can change. That does not exist in any company in the world. For any type of framework or approach that you can follow, you're always going to make a commitment and you always need to know where you are regarding this commitment. The idea, of course, with Scrum that you're going to prioritize the value items that you can release there, but you always have a commitment there to a release date. And of course, if you're going to release, even if it's a MVP, a minimum viable product, you need to make sure that you have functionality enough to release the product. That's a basic item. So whatever project that you have, you need to have a way to understand where you are with your timeline. And I'm not saying that you should have a fixed baseline or anything, but you have a commitment where you are with this commitment. You are getting close to that. You are going to reach the commitment. You are going to meet this commitment or not. So there are different tools to do that. So what you need to understand is how you're going to get an overview about the process of the project and how you're going to move forward with that. In some types of project, it makes much more sense if you're going to use a tool like Asana or like Jira, because for certain specifics. In some other types of project, for example, if you are working with construction, big capex project, capex stands for capital expenditure projects, meaning uh, wind farms, new factories, new manufacturing sites. All those things are capex because they require a very big investment for a company, and usually they have a high level of complexity because they involve a lot of different stakeholders and there's a lot of moving parts to be tracked. And because usually the lead time for those things are long, so that's why you end up using MS Project or Primavera, because then you can have a nice view there and not only view the tasks are being managed there. And of course, I know if you can build something with Jira and you can try to do the similar thing, but honestly, I haven't seen this done in exactly the same way as you'd like to see in MS Project. And again, there's no best tool, so that's important that you know already. What's important is you are going to understand what's your project, how you're going to manage and deal with that with your team, and how you want to follow this thing through. So much more important than knowing, for example, in the case of a timeline management software or a tracking time software, a task tracking, value tracking, whatever you want to call it, software. It's important to understand, to have the systemic view what you are trying to achieve using the software. Because I can tell you, there's people even using Excel to manage timelines. And before someone say anything, I don't think that's in general. If you ask me in general, I don't think Excel is a good tool to manage timelines, and it's also not a good tool if you want to track tasks and so on. If you want to do like a Kanban in Excel, that does not look the best then the best tool to do that. But I know there's people doing that. I would not recommend. But depending on the situation, even Excel can make sense because can have different constraints. For example, I have one of my projects that I have some type of development activity that goes in a manufacturing site. In the manufacturing site, they do not have any other software, so they use Excel. And for me, for the overview project, I have few more items, and of course, that I need to manage there. So I don't know, I have 100 lines on Excel that I get from the manufacturing site. I'm not going to transfer this to MS Project to add another 10 lines or 20 lines that I need to manage there because that's a waste of my time doing that. So yeah, I use Excel for other circumstances and because of other trackings and other activities that I need to do. In this case, it makes sense. For all the other projects, I'm using MS Project because also that's the tool the company provides me, and I think I can do stuff with timelines much faster there. In other scenarios, I've already used Trailer. In other scenarios, I've seen companies requiring to use Primavera. So there's no best timeline tool. There's no best tool. There's only what's more suitable for a specific situation. It would be like if I ask you, what's the best tool to build a house? I'm not sure you, but I guess you would ask me, what do you want to do? Do you want to dig a hole to make a foundation? So use a digger. Don't try to use a driller for that. You want to put a nail in the wall? Use a hammer. Don't use a driller. You want to cut something? Use a saw. So there are all those type of different tools out there, and they are fit for different activities. For example, for business case, if you're dealing with a project, in all companies I've seen so far today, the business case is done in Excel. And why? Because Excel was built for that, for calculations and for this kind of stuff. So a business, and of course, on the top of that, usually any company that you go around the world, they have basic MS project package there as a standard. So it's not in something new that you're going to buy. Maybe there's a very fancy software that you can use to manage a business case. Yes. Does it provide extra value added as Excel? I don't know for a business case. Of course, and then I got the question that, but if I have a big set of data, what kind of softwares I can use? It depends. Oh, depends, of course. First of all, the size, the data size that you need to handle it. For some case, you can even use Excel, and you are going to get good results. Depending on the case, what you are trying to do. For example, if you are working on a Lean Six Sigma project, one of the most common software uses used in Lean Six Sigma project is Minitab. Why? Because it has a lot of extra functionalities and can do a lot of help. Does it mean that you cannot use Excel? No, it just means that Minitab will make your life much easier if you use that one. What software? So I already talked about timeline. I talk about business case and cost management. Then usually you end up with Excel. Of course, when you also look for cost management, companies they have ERP, an ERP system, Enterprise Resource Product, if I remember well. What is that? It's a software like SAP, Oracle, that they connect all the company, all the enterprise, and they help to manage everything, including costs. So in some companies, also as part of managing the cost there, I also managed SAP and Oracle. I had contact with that where I could run reports, where I would approve purchase orders, where I could get different visibility in some companies for expenditures, open POs, in other case forecast for the project, where I would help me to plan to prepare the product ramp up, all those kind of stuff I would use in this software because it's the standard software for the company, so it makes sense. In some cases, of course, if I need to share a forecast with a supplier, I just push a button, download my forecast to an Excel sheet, and send to a supplier. Why? Because it makes sense, because I can guarantee that the supplier has a system for that. But also some other companies, you don't need to send forecast to a supplier because they have an EDI connection. That's basically a way to connect companies' forecasts to optimize the supply chain. So in ideal world, you don't send Excel. You have an automatic system communication via EDI. So those are types of tools. Other tools that I use in projects, a PLM, Product Lifecycle Management, where the system manage the bill of material, where you put all the official documents there because it's a system where you can define a document number there with traceability, with reviews, with approval levels, and not possible to delete that. In those PLMs, as I mentioned, you can manage the bill of material. This bill of material it can be connected with the manufacturing sites. You manage the life cycle of the bill of material. If you need to update something, it's everything well tracked. You also can approve even gates, or you can approve documents on this product life cycle management there. I use it as PLM Agile. I use Windchill. I use Enovia. So there are different systems for that. So if you ask me what kind of software you're going to use, for example, other software I'm using nowadays because I'm in a phase to implement Kanbans in some of my teams, and because a Kanban method is basically can be used anywhere. Kanban comes from Lean, and you can use it in any type of processing, any type of project. It's a bit different from the Kanban that you see on screens that you have the to do, doing, done, and blocked. The Kanban method has a bit different view that brings more value, and that's why I'm using that one. But how do I start to draw my Kanban to discuss with team? Well, I start the discussion with a Miro board because that's very easy to draw it there. And in some cases, I'm putting the Kanban in the MS Teams. Why? Is MS Teams the best tool to manage the Kanban? No, but I'm running a kind of pilot initiative in the company, and this is the software that I have available, straightforward. Yes, there are better software for Kanban, absolutely, but the company needs to agree with that. They need to pay for that. That needs to go for IT approval, and can be a lot of discussion before I can get it approval. I can get it approved. So should I wait for that? Absolutely not. I'm not going to wait 6 months to do something that I think is necessary that can bring me value. So I'm going to find a way to do it. So this is a software that I use it. There are different softwares also that companies can use for time writing. There's different other softwares that you can use for data analysis. There's different softwares that you can use, for example, to build dashboards like Power BI. I've used Power BI in the past. Very nice. It had a connection with Oracle, the ERP system. It had a connection with the MS project files for the entire company. And then in the PMO level, we had a very nice dashboard with a very with a kind of with a live basically view of product status, tasks are late, responsible for the task, enterprise resource management, and all the other project KPIs. So that's a very nice. But what's my message here to you? First, for just the softwares that I mentioned here, from the timing, Excel, do you need to know everything up front? No, because I can tell you, I used all those PLM, and I learned those PLM systems in the company I was working on. Yeah, usually you need to invest some time to learn it, yes. But in the end, if you learn it, if you learn how to use it, your life will be much easier because yeah, using a software usually the goal is to help you to facilitate that. So what you need to understand? You need to understand the foundational concept. What's the goal of using this software and what kind of value that you can get with this software. With that, you can start to use it. It's a bit, and right now I did not mention, but there's a other tool that's very trendy right now, and probably it's here to stay. That's artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT. That's a tool that can help you to add a lot of value to your project and can help you to automatize and make a lot of the tasks that you have more efficient. But here's the trick, because you can ask, you can use the ChatGPT to help you with risk management. You can use to help to with timelines. You can ask to write down minute minutes of meetings. A lot of other stuff that you can get from ChatGPT. What's important? That the artificial intelligence will process something and will deliver to you. But you need to have the knowledge to assess if what's there is correct or not. Because in the end, you use then that's exactly the same how it works for all the tools. You use a tool that the intent of the tool is help you to deliver value, more value in a faster way, but you are the responsible for the results of the tool. For example, I've seen people doing business case, and the business case, if you look just for the results, for the overview, you say, oh, nice NPV. NPV stands for net present value, nice gross margin, very good business. But when you start to analyze how the numbers are computing there, you see this is a crap business case because those numbers they come from nowhere that has no traceability, and likely this is just a paper exercise. It does not work anything there. So what's the real business case? And then you need to go back for that. But can you say that, oh, that's the result that I get from Excel? Of course not. Excel does the calculation, which makes easier instead of you taking a calculator and do it everything manually. But the responsibility of the results is from you. It's your responsibility or whoever is working on that. I've seen in the past discussions about critical path. In this case, there was a discussion with a customer. There was escalations going on, and the person that was working on that was saying that the software gave a critical path that did not make any sense. And people start saying, "But this critical path does not make any sense there." And the person doing that say, "That's the result I get from the software." Well, the software is only in processing the information that you put in there. If you add crap in, you get crap out. So more important than fixing, than overthinking about tools, because then I've seen people say, yeah, I'm going to learn MS Project, I'm going to learn Primavera, I'm going to learn Jira, I'm going to learn Asana, I'm going to learn Trello. Go ahead, man, or in this case, go ahead, man or woman. What happens is you can stay learning all the different tools that you have there for probably years. What's going to happen? If you do MS Project training and you don't use it, well, in 1 year, you're going to forget most of that. If you do an Excel training, you don't use it. I don't know, 1 year, you're going to forget most of that. For example, I can tell you my Excel level was much better, probably, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago. Why? Because I use Excel in a much more active way. Nowadays, I use Excel for business case, and I have all types of different tools, which is very nice. But I'm not creating dashboards. I'm not doing calculations. I'm not processing data with Excel. So my amount of work there is much more restricted. So I do not remember everything that I remember 10 years ago when I was creating an S curve on Excel and a lot of other stuff there. But here's the thing. If you know that the tool can do it, just say, I do not remember how to do it. Google it, 5 minutes, then I'm back on track if I need to use it. Yeah, of course, I'm not going to be as efficient as I was in the past, but it's I just need to exercise a bit and I can get back there. So my goal here to you is telling you that it's important, of course, if you learn some tools, if you learn the basics of some tools, it's important if you have an overview there. And a lot of those things you can get out there. And for example, if MS project, I do have even a mini training on that, and I have a lot of free content that can give you a very pretty good idea on that. But you need to use it. So you're going to say, I learned it a bit, but if you never use an MS project, you're going to forget, and that's the case for any tool. So stop overthinking about tools. Start thinking about what kind of value that I have there, what I'm trying to achieve, what kind of value I'm trying to achieve there, and instead of going for a very fancy tool, because you can have like for risk management, very nice software that they do Monte Carlo simulations. Do you need a software to do a Monte Carlo simulation in a project that you have a restrict amount of risk that you're going to you're that project risk that at least you're dealing with? If the answer is no, I don't need it. So why you're doing it? Because every time you think about software, you also think about cost for the company. And I know that you say, but that's the cost for, I don't know, like MS Project. They just released the Copilot. That's the artificial intelligence add-in that's already part of the MS Office package, which can be really nice. And the extra cost for the Copilot, last time I checked it, if I remember well, was, I don't know, $25 or $30 extra per license. But if you think in a company per month, a company that has 1,000 employees, then you multiply by 30, and it's 30,000. If you multiply it by 12, it starts to get expensive. So, does everybody needs the Copilot? You need to think about that. For some people, makes sense. The Copilot can help you with overviews, writing tests, but yeah, you don't have the Copilot, but you also can have the ChatGPT free version. Okay, the version ChatGPT 4.0 or whatever version that they're going to release next, it's will be much more powerful than the free version, true, but you can get a lot of done even with the free version. With the idea that it's a tool to help you in what you want to achieve. If you go there and you don't get, you get an answer from ChatGPT, you do not know how to assess it, so that means that you're not needed. So every time you think about artificial intelligence, it's important that you have the knowledge to assess the kind of information that you are getting. Does it make sense? How I'm going to connect it? How I'm going to translate it with the reality? How I can take these and add more value on top of that? Because if you cannot do anything on the top that ChatGPT is doing, you're going to just paste here, copy and paste here from there. Yeah, very soon, and I've seen this already in some places. You are not needed anymore. That's exactly the same thing that's going to happen with all the tools. More important than learning the tool is understanding the kind of value that you can get. So in the case that I was talking about the MS project that the guy was pushing a critical path that does not sense and was blaming the software for that. Well, what's the value of paying someone there if he does not cannot even have some type of critical thinking to assess the kind of information that he's getting there? That the customer does say that does not make sense. Everybody around the company says does not make sense, and this person doesn't have even the type of self awareness to say, oh, maybe there's something wrong here. Let me check what's going on there. So this is very important. This is very critical for you to use. So stop thinking about all those different tools that you have out there. There are probably hundreds of different tools that you can learn. The point is you need to understand again the systemic view because with your systemic view you are going to see and you are going to understand how you can add value. So you can take a tool that a company have or you can even suggest a new tool and you can bring more value for the organization. That will make you a valuable employee, valuable in the sense that what kind of value that you're adding for the company. Not saying that as a person you're not valuable anywhere, you're always valuable there, but the type of person that can add 300,000 of value for a company, you can easily get a salary of $100,000 or even more. Why? Because the work this person is doing, it pays off easily. And if you're doing it right, it pays off 10, 20 times a lot of very easily. So stop thinking about tools. Tool is what I'm saying, it's just a tool. And it kind of exactly the same way to look for a framework. Stop thinking about waterfall, Scrum, Kanban as the whole grail that you need to have there. That's learn then, build your systemic view, and see how you can add value in those different situations. Because in the end, the companies they are looking for the outcome, for the value that you can deliver. No one cares about Excel. Everyone cares about what you can do with Excel. And what you can do with Excel, the very important part is what you're generating, what you're creating with Excel, Minitab, Oracle, SAP, any type of PLM that you want to have, any type of simulation software that you want to have, Jira, Asana, whatever. The outcome that you created, does it add value? Does it pay your salary, the cost of the tool, and are and bringing value for the project? Because that's what matters in the end. If you keep stuck it with a tool, man, I can tell you that likely you're going to be heading for a problem. And just to mention the case that I mentioned about the person that was blaming MS project because of a crappy result there, this person he ended up being fired. Can you imagine that? And in this case, he did it at MS project. Then later on, he did it with a business case. There was an escalation up to the CEO level, country CEO, with a result that was horrible there, the cash flow, how it looks like. And then they found out that he was saying that it is what it is because that's the result that I get, that the calculation was wrong. You can imagine that you enter an escalation that go for the department level, go for a director level, gets up to the CEO, and you're not even able to confirm that the output that you get from a tool is the correct one. Then, of course, I already mentioned these people end up being fired. So be careful about falling in love with tools. And I know that there's a lot of people showing tools, and there's a lot of nice tools that you can think there. But if you don't get value from that, it's a waste. And if you're wasting, that means that you might be wasting your time, organization money, and that will not help you to progress your career. So stopping looking for the best tool because that does not exist. All types of it's impossible that you're going to find a tool that can be used in all types of situations that's going to help you. It's exactly the same example that I mentioned about the house. What's the best tool to build a house? It depends. You need several different tools to build a house. Each one of them they have a purpose. So if you want to build a house, what you need to know? When you use this tool, that's going to bring you some value from what you want to achieve. That's building a house. It's exactly the same thing when you are looking for different softwares. Understand your goal, which tool makes sense to use in this case that will help me to add more value. And of course, as I already mentioned, if you're using Excel, if you're using Excel to manage a timeline for a complex project, if you move for a MS project, you can do it more effectively. And it saves you time and you can add more value. Then it makes sense. If you're using a business case and you're using Excel, then someone comes up, but I have a very nice software here. What kind of value that you're going to get there? Does it make sense? You get extra value there. What are advantages or disadvantages of using that? And that's the way you should think about. Stop looking for ready solutions. And the beauty of this thing is artificial. It's the thing that gets at this point is hard for artificial intelligence to replace is the way of thinking all those different solutions, those interconnections, this complex environment that we have here with all those interconnections, peoples, and so on. Artificial intelligence cannot do everything there. Artificial intelligence can help you to be much more efficient with a lot of items, but at this moment, it cannot replace everything. So understanding the kind of value that you have, taking on those all those tools that you have there, including artificial intelligence, that can make you add more value and deliver more value for your organization there. Again, if you can help me here, you can comment in this video here. What did you learn in this video? Because that also it's a very nice way for me to see how you're perceiving the messaging and what I'm helping you to, what kind of skills that I'm helping you to develop there. So please comment in the video here what was the most interesting thing that you learned during this video, and of course I'm going to make sure I reply everything here. Make sure you follow my YouTube for additional content. Every week there's more content there, but also make sure you follow my Instagram page. There I have a daily content, and also there I have a daily Q&A box that you can ask all project management questions that you want. Thank you and see you soon. Bye.